Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Facility Management Times podcast. And this episode, we are going to talk about something very interesting which is happening in the UK. We're going to talk about the state of facilities management in the UK, particularly from the aspect of looking at what's happening across digital transformation, hard services, and asset performance management. I was recently there in the UK for a couple of weeks, visited sites in Manchester, in London, had conversation with customers, prospects, and I thought that it would make a lot of sense to just sort of condense everything that I saw, discussed with a lot of people, and put together in this episode. So we're going to talk about what are some of the common trends that we are seeing. How is the market in UK different from some of the other aspects that we are seeing everywhere else? And what is going to happen in the next 24 months, which is sort of my prediction in terms of what we're going to be seeing over the course of the next 24 months. So let's get started. First, I think where is UK in respect to the what's happening in the digital transformation in FM space and hard services? I think there are three key talking points that we are seeing in UK, which is there. Number one is reliability. I don't think people are just talking about predictive as a use case. Predictive technology or analytics as a use case. There's a very focused end outcome that companies are looking at, which is reliability centered maintenance, which is actually very good to hear because that defines the end job that one needs to do versus the kind of technology that you would like to invest in or sort of use. Energy has been a great talking point. You've obviously had a 54% cost increase, approximately thereabouts, since April. And then you're going to expecting to have another one later in the year. So obviously, there's a lot of focus. FM companies are wanting to give on how can they help their customers reduce whatever cost they can, and there is a huge linkage between operations, maintenance, and energy outside of all the capital projects that you might as well do for energy efficiency. So that's a very important talking point. And third, which kind of resonates what we are seeing across everywhere, which is sustainability, net zero. But in my conversations, found that outside of the commercial real estate, so when you look at sectors like data centers, healthcare, or infrastructure related built environment outside of the normal commercial real estate space, sustainability and net zero was not the primary objective of using a lot of technology in the way FM companies are delivering hard services. It was reliability and obviously energy essentially driving the cost down. So I think that's the common trend that we are seeing. Reliability is not what we see in other markets like Australia, India, and UAE. Obviously, India is sort of slightly behind, but when you look at UAE, kind of similar market in a lot of way and connected as well because of the kind of workforce that works across in the UAE. That's one big difference that I saw. It was a great learning for me. Wasn't really expecting that, but that was an outcome. I mean, and the second is no one's really talking about performance-based contract. I mean, I was expecting that to be there. I think there are very few who are talking about it, which perhaps means that contractually FM agreements haven't really gone to that stage where you could look at performance-driven contracts. But there's a lot of conversation happening around being proactive versus reactive, largely linked to risk or reputation management. Now, which is kind of the preparatory work which FM companies might as well be planning to do or executing so that they could be ready for performance driven contracts over the next 12, 24 months, which I strongly foresee coming into the foray when it comes to a lot of projects where healthcare and some of the other sectors. I think we're going to move into those kind of contracts, and it's a good time for FM companies to be eventually preparing themselves. But I think the other two aspects which FM companies are looking at, and again, this is all courtesy conversations and discussions, trying to take a sneak peek into what is going on inside the heads and minds of the FM leaders. One is ensuring that they are able to win rebids, which is fundamentally important, and the second is not wanting to get market tested. Especially in the long-term contracts, where innovation, even though is a KPI, but you now there is much more intent in trying to do something new, innovative, keep on showing that value to the customer, just so that you just don't get market tested. You just don't want to be getting into that situation because cost then becomes difficult, sort of a value where you can't just sort of compete, to be very fair. In terms of the overall journey of the companies in digital transformation, I think UK has certainly, safe to say, as a market, moved beyond discovery. There are very few FM companies who are still in the discovery stage. So, and when I say they've moved beyond discovery, what I'm trying to say is the companies have a almost 40-50% sense of what the end state for them would look like, which is a good position to be in. You can never really be 100% sure, but at least companies who I've had the opportunity to interact with, work with, or like have been in active conversation, they have a strong sense of what the end state might look like for them, which is a very good position to be in. And I think everyone has a long-term focus, which is again a very good thing. Something that we haven't really seen in UAE, if I were to do that comparison. Uh, that is something that's missing. In UAE, you are still looking at the discovery phase, you're still trying to figure out, you're still focusing on a lot of diversions, maybe AI, ML, IoT, a lot of those conversations happening without really knowing what does the end state look like, which is so heartening that wasn't there in the UK. At least I didn't get to discover it. So maybe I was talking to the right people in that sense. So that's there. One of the other aspects that I wanted to talk about is how are FM companies looking at sourcing technology. One great difference that I saw, FM companies who are largely working on decentralized facilities like retail are more inclined to build their own suite of applications, platforms, whichever way you would want to decide. But the ones who are managing large projects or facilities, when you look at healthcare, data centers, or airports, or large infrastructure, they clearly have a plan which sort of a similar for everyone, focused on building the data lake, owning the data infrastructure, and then opening up or selecting a suite of applications which are best in the market, give them the differentiator, and sort of build on top of that. So you're kind of doing a combination of build plus buy, but the buy is very strategic because you are essentially partnering versus taking a vendor driven approach. And again, that is something, there's a lot of clarity in the region on how that would go through. I haven't come across, apart from a couple of companies which are involved in commercial real estate per se, or like retail, retail facilities where they've built something over a period of time. And again, they've been doing it consistently over a period of time. So they didn't really start a couple of years back. So I think that's what we're seeing in the UK. Again, not very different to what we're seeing in the UAE, just that the maturity levels are very different. What are the sectors where we will see massive movements? I think I am betting on healthcare and facilities, again around the infrastructure, where your maintenance aspect is far more critical, plus the cost aspect is far more critical than in some of the others. There's obviously going to be massive movement around commercial real estate properties, but I suspect that larger movement is going to be seen in the sectors which have probably more critical assets, and the question of moving to reliability and being able to move to proactive approach versus a reactive approach is far more critical. So that's my kind of prediction. And just to sum up, obviously this episode, what is that we can expect in the next 12-24 months ideally? Obviously, an important point to note, there is an R word going around, which is recession. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that everyone who's listening to the conversation or this episode is more of an optimist like me. There's a great opportunity, even if we were to move into a recession or a dull environment. I think the use of technology in FM space is only going to get a further boost. It got a boost because of COVID. I think it's going to get 10x boost because of what we are going to experience in terms of macroeconomic levels overall. So what are we really expecting in the next 24 months? A parallel business model versus a business usual scenario. I think as far as operations and maintenance is concerned, I think strongly feel and believe that UK will, FM companies in the UK will have a parallel business model ready much before what we are going to see in some of the other regions where we are working or sort of exploring. I think that's going to be there. They will be very much ready to move into a data and a digital first mode as far as asset performance management, operations, and maintenance is concerned, and will move into growth stage of the maturity in terms of digital adoption, which I think is going to be a very significant achievement for companies and network and community around. And I, for one, am backing for FM companies to go ahead in the UK to achieve that over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. So that's what I sort of got from the conversation. That's a recap in terms of how I'm looking at the state of facilities management in the UK from the context of digital transformation, data movements in digital technologies, and obviously asset performance management. If you've had a slightly different experience or observation and you have been keenly following the markets, I would love to chat with you, hear your feedback. Do give us a message, drop in a comment, and we would love to get back to you and obviously at some point in time publish your thoughts as well. And for everyone else who's been listening to the Facility Management Times podcast, thank you so much. You now have the opportunity to listen to the podcast episodes across different platforms, from Spotify to iTunes to wherever you're finding your podcast. The link is there in the comment section and in the description for you to head to. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Facility Management Times podcast. I'll see you next with the fresh episode and great content, as probably we are doing